Welcome to Watch Diary. My name is Ryan Snelling. We're starting things off a little bit differently here. Normally, it's just me at the top. Brando's over there without a webcam. So he's kind of here, but kind of isn't. And that's how different this episode of Watch Diary is going to be. What's up, man?
What's up, man? My day has been ruined by this stupid thing not working. You know, most people would say, don't let it get to you. You're better than this, you know. You've accomplished a lot in life.
Yeah.
But all I can think about right now is that this stupid thing that's supposed to work every time is not working.
Is that why you chose that photo? Because of your insecurity, you had to just show and display your accomplishments, which are your two boys?
Oh, please, those aren't my accomplishments. Let me tell you, my kids, every parent brags on their kids, and they need to simmer down because my kids are just okay at best.
Yeah.
And, like, for example, my one kid won't stop talking in baby talk. Did you ever go through a baby talk phase?
I don't think so. That was not something that ever... Are you talking about your older child? That's got to be why it's a problem.
That's right. Yeah, my older child. Now, did you always have a really low speaking voice? 'Cause that might be why.
Honestly, I don't remember what my
you
voice
came out
was like.
Wah.
There's not a lot of video of me as a child. I guess when I started filming myself and me and my friends were making movies in middle school, I was like one of the first voices to change. So basically, if I went to my middle school movies with our friend Reed, my voice is already almost what it is now. So I don't remember what my voice is like before.
God, you were just probably insufferable. But anyway, I can see you as a child coming out of the womb being like, give me my field greens or whatever that greens thing that everyone's trying to get everybody to take.
Athletic greens. I know that we're kind of talking about your accomplishments, your children, your webcam. I'm introing the podcast. There's a lot going on. But you just asked me like the most compelling question I've like ever been asked on this podcast.
Does anyone call you daddy?
No, that was off air. I don't remember my voice. Is that weird?
No. I mean, I don't think anybody remembers their voice.
Well, I mean...
I know I sounded like a little girl until...
Did you?
Dude, I sang soprano in choir until 8th grade. So I was like one of those Vienna boys choir kids. Yeah. And I remember... so I finally went up to my choir teacher and I was like, look, you can't put me with the sopranos anymore. It's starting to hurt my rep. You know, I was a big boy by that time, football star in middle school. And so I couldn't have, you know, you can't have this big football guy and then sing Castle on a Cloud from Les Mis in your falsetto and be able to keep up with all the sopranos. And that's, if you're out there and you don't know what a soprano is, it's the highest singing part for a female in a choir. That's what the soprano is. So it's not like I was even an alto.
Yeah.
I was a soprano because my balls didn't drop until, I think last year. I think last year is when it happened at 34. So
the voice that you're speaking in right now, it's the voice that I always applied to you, like in my memory bank. Because like when we met, I'm pretty sure you sounded the way that you sound, but your voice is also very distinct. Distinct. It's distinct because it's scratchy. There's a lot of bass to it. Do you remember a time before smoking changed your voice? Not puberty, but smoking. Do you, like, I guess what I'm asking in an easier way to ask it is, have you noticed your voice change because of smoking?
No. I think it was always that way.
Yeah.
The only thing I think it changed was my blood pressure and my life expectancy. But other than that, I don't think that it changed the overall, like, character or tone. And a lot of that is due to, and this isn't cool at all, but I'm a little older than you. And when I was first got into high school freshman year, the first band that came out that I was like, oh, like everything's changed was Creed. I mean, I thought Creed was absolutely the best band in the world.
Yeah.
And I was stupid and wrong, but you got to remember, this is like pre every house having internet. So the first time I heard With Arms Wide Open as a kid who was only allowed to listen to Christian music, I was like, what the hell is that?
Right.
Or heaven. What the heaven is that? So I chased it and I tried to sound like him until probably sophomore year when I discovered like Tooth and Nail. And then I was like, oh, there's other stuff out there. And then thank God for Thrice, or my voice, having a raspy kind of singing voice, which is what I do, would not be cool. But Thrice made it okay.
Isn't that interesting how that's happened? Like, I changed my scream based on, like, who I was listening to.
Oh, yeah, completely. Like I wonder who you would sound like if you'd never heard anybody else scream.
Yeah, so I remember when I very first started, it was very
awful,
whiny, and more like wispy and like more thin. It was like more thin and whiny, and it was compared to Emery, the Emery screamer.
Yeah, the first time I remember you trying to learn how to scream.
Yeah.
And sitting in Reed's car and you're like, dude, I think I can scream now. And I was like, no, you can't. And we went out into the car and you're like, yeah, I'll show you. And then we listened to an Under Oath song and you screamed along and I made fun of you. And then like 6 months later, you screamed at a show and I was like, oh, I guess he can scream.
Yeah, I do have like memories of basically tracking my endurance and my stamina, because I think it was like whiny and whispery a little bit because I could only do it in like short round bursts.
Yeah.
And the fact that I got, the stamina back up and I could just do it all day effortlessly, and it was like so much more thick, and I don't know, there's a lot more like, there's a lot more texture to it. And thick. I just remember one day I just became the screamer that I had in my head out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was weird.
The screamer for Emery is almost as bad as the screamer from Dance Gavin Dance. Like if those two guys could go away forever, like their screams, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned Dance Gavin Dance, because I watched this YouTube documentary that Eric recommended to me. And it's like this, maybe he still is a scene guy, but it's like this ex-scene guy who listened to all the music that you and I are aware of and listen to. And he just makes content.
Is it the Punk Rock MBA?
No. But it's this guy that he's done a lot of like documentaries about, like he'll do like an entire expose on Never Say Never or Never Shout Never. And
I know exactly who you're talking about. He's got like long stringy hair. He looks like Shaggy.
Yeah. So he did like a 4-part doc on the rise and fall of Johnny Craig.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, did you? So do you know that I'm in the background of one of those clips?
Oh my God, you're famous.
Yeah. You can literally spot me, Josh, Anthony. I think I'm standing next to you. Do you remember my football friend Josh Lynn?
No.
Okay. Well, I thought it'd be really funny if you were like, yeah, Josh Lynn, like he's a legend, and like you had this entire anyway. I really thought you were gonna remember it and have this whole. But anyway, several people can be spotted. It's a clip of Johnny's first show with the Morosa that I was at. Were you there?
Probably. I was probably outside drunk.
It was when we did shows at that YMCA.
No, I wouldn't have been drunk then. Yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah. So anyway, they showed a little clip of it, and you can see me in the background.
The fact that we thought that was the biggest thing in the world, and we're playing at a YMCA on the floor. That whole scene is so stupid, but it was so much fun.
But I was gonna say, but isn't that like also kind of magical?
Oh yeah, like it's a magic time.
Think about the reverb.
Imagine telling your children. I mean, first imagine you're married and someone likes you, and then imagine that person accepts you into them and you have children. And then imagine telling your kids, yeah, I was in a band. Oh, what kind of shows did you play? Well, what's up, Denny's? You know, did you ever play at what was that Mexican place in Lexington?
We didn't play there, but I went to shows there.
Yeah, how stupid. It's a Mexican place. And then they clear out the tables. And like, I just imagine, like, do you remember that kid, Jonathan Elliott? Like,
yeah,
Jonathan Elliott being like, come on, let's go. You know, open up the pit in this Mexican place. Oh, God. We were idiots. Sorry. Off the rails. Off the rails.
Oh. So just for clarification, Brando's trying to say Mexican restaurant, not just Mexican place. I just want to make it. We got to make sure that that people understand how absurd it is. It's because it was a Mexican restaurant and they cleared the tables. My memory, and this is probably me fixing it to make it more funny, but my memory is that people were still sitting in there eating as the show was being.
Oh, I wish that were true. I think we saw Life in Your Way there. Assigned band.
Yeah, I think maybe. I remember.
You guys definitely played there.
No, we didn't.
Okay, well, you did, but
I went to a show there with my friend at the time who was getting into that music. And I remember, for some reason, he was talking to this other guy's girl, or he was talking to a girl that another guy in the scene was talking to. And I remember driving up there, and that guy was there. And we were all like, are they going to fight? Are they going to fight? Like, hold me back. I'm going to fight them. And, like, obviously nothing happened. But I remember.
Was it Smooth Arms?
Smooth Arms?
Do you remember Smooth Arms?
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah. If Smooth Arms or Jacob Struck were there, it was going to be a fight.
I hated that kid.
Oh, yeah?
I hated him. I didn't know anything about him, but I would just hear so many stories from mutual friends, and I would just see his shitty ass dancing and, like, ruining all of my fun. I hated that kid. I hated him.
Bethel was kind of dope.
Isn't it kind of funny how, like, people had... It's almost like a movie where, like, there's all these, like, really, like, distinct characters and people who, like, had so much, like, sway and added to so much drama in the music scene. Like, it's so funny back in the MySpace days how there were all these characters that I never met, interacted with, but they were kids in the scene that had reputations. I mean, it was literally like a movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like,
you could list names, and I can tell you all these memories I have of them as, like, just a person, not memories that I have with them.
I mean, I can, like, again, this is going to be something totally, like, different to our kids. I mean, we got to tell people that we used to go by our MySpace gamer tags, basically. Like, do you remember? There are people I don't know their real names, like B Vegas.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
No, I don't think so.
There was B Vegas. There was Sandy Tackles. There was
Sandy Tackles.
There was what was that other one? I don't know, but so there were people that we knew. Oh, remember that kid Mikey Six Guns?
Yeah.
God, I hated that kid. But
we have a mutual friend that I won't name because their actual name is in their MySpace name, but they applied just a word from the dictionary that sounded like a name. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
So they used the word Cade. C-A-D.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I was like, oh, that's your middle name. And she's like, no, it's just a word from the dictionary. But it, like, sounded like a name. So it was, like, such a specific thing.
Oh, I know exactly, yeah.
And I think they still use it to this day. I think so. I'm not positive.
Oh, that's funny.
Am I wrong?
I don't know, but that's hilarious.
I'm going to see real quick.
Did you know they went on tour with us?
I do remember those stories, yes. And by the way, they still use the name to this day.
Good. They're an excellent person. Beautiful
100%.
person.
But I just have that distinct memory of, like, being a teenager in high school and choosing MySpace names like that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, on tour, I kicked that person out of our bus, out of our van.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because before tour, I said, look, you are a guest on this tour.
Yeah.
And we are not going to be waiting on you. So when I say get up and we got to go, that just means we have to go. We're not going to wait for you to take a shower or like fix your hair, whatever. And sure enough, first day it happens. And I was a jerk, more of a jerk back then. And I was like, what did I say? It's basically how I treat my kids now.
Yeah.
And I was like, in the other van with you. And then there was a guitar player in my band that was like, I can't believe you did that. That was so terrible.
Were they dating at the time?
Yeah, they were.
That was always fun.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what sounds fun? Going on tour with my friends and one of their girlfriends.
Yeah.
But she's actually a great person. And
yeah.
So anyway.
It's funny how like all of the bands had that one girlfriend that would never leave. My band had it. Your band had it. The other brother band had it for a long time. So there's something, as we're talking through this, and maybe I always thought of it like this, but it almost feels larger than life. Because it's weird that we're saying all these things and having all these memories when I was literally 15 years old.
Yeah.
And other teenagers, other 15-year-olds that you and I interacted with went on tour with their band.
Yeah.
And had fans and had people that followed their music. It feels larger than life, and it sounds like something that should be happening in our lives now, but it happened when we were kids.
That's right.
And that is wild to me. And it's why I'm such like a case of like, oh, he's peaked. Like his golden years will always be behind. But it's funny to talk about that. But also like, how am I ever going to do anything cooler than what I did when I was that young?
See, I view it totally different. Because when I listen back to that music, I'm like, God, why did I ever think this was good?
Well,
and then
you're applying literally the music, but I'm just talking about the lifestyle.
No, even now, like, so at 35, obviously if I was on the road, I would have made different life choices. But imagine right now.
Yeah.
It's probably different from you because you're single, you don't have any kids. But like, if someone came up to me, if I would have stayed trying to go after that life, I would never have made any amount of money because my talent does not get anywhere close to being able to feed a family. And so I would be like staying on floors at 35, waking up in terrible situations, trying to find a place, not ordering enough merch or ordering way too much merch. I am so thankful every day I sleep in my own bed. Yeah, screw that lifestyle. That sucks. Did you hear the news that Shawn Mendes, I don't know if you care about him. I don't. But he just canceled like a North American and European tour because he had anxiety because he wasn't prepared post pandemic to be that busy again. And so he burnt out real soon. And so there's a lot of people online going, is it so hard to get up at 4, walk into the place and play a show? And I'm like, part of me is like, yeah, well, he's making like stupid money doing all that. But think of if you cancel something like that, you are canceling not only for the money that you're going to have to reimburse some people or the label is, whatever, but also like, because tour insurance has to be through the roof right now.
Right.
And so you have to pay back all the venues, all the people, Ticketmaster, all that stuff. And then you have your own crew and band that turned down other opportunities to do this thing. It's just, I can't imagine that lifestyle. Everybody thinks, to be Lady Gaga must be the easiest thing in the world. You're insane. That's an insane thing to think. Or like Ed Sheeran has it easy. No, that guy has to write 20 songs a year that have to go number one. I mean, he's got 84 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He's the top Spotify. I would never have guessed that.
Right.
84 million. Beyonce just put out a record only at like 45 or 50 million.
I think that the thing that first of all, you're absolutely right. And the idea that that's such a massive decision that's probably like bigger than any one person should make.
Yes.
Like you're almost in charge of like a small town.
That's right.
You're like
that's right.
You're like the mayor or like a governor of like a state when you have to make that kind of decision. I mean, that's crazy. Right. And for an average, maybe I shouldn't say an average civilian, but for a civilian, that's astronomical.
Yeah.
And there's no way it's easy unless the person is just like so shitty in like other people's lives and I'm not even saying that that's the case, but if they just truly don't care because they have the biggest team in the world that clouds them from seeing the world the way that it is, because that's also possible, then maybe it's an easier thing to do. But I mean, it's not on paper, and it's very
well. It's the exact reason why Justin Bieber will never be a decent human being, because he can't, because he had success immediately.
Yeah.
He turned 13 and Usher's like, hey, baby. Yeah. Oh. And then ever since that moment, he's been able to piss on his fans or like, get in fights, tattoo his neck at like 16. Like there's no way that kid's a decent human being. You know what I mean? So like
the other thing that I read that Shawn Mendes story, and the thing that I went to was, when are we going to decide to finally stop being so hard on ourselves? Because I also think a lot about how every other week I read about like a content creator who has to take a hiatus because they're burnt out. And sometimes some of us, myself included, maybe not so much anymore, but I used to have obsessive behaviors in terms of like creating content or whatever it was. And I'm just like, when are we going to stop being so hard on ourselves and just take it easy? Like I wish that Shawn Mendes, based on other people's experiences, could have just had the idea or the goal to not go big out the pandemic. Ease yourself back into these things. Give yourself time. Like I just wish people did that more instinctively. I'm not even like shitting on them. It could be, you could say that about anybody.
Yeah, I think so many of us think, if only I'd had these opportunities, that could have been me. That's one of my like toxic traits, right? It's like, I could have done that. I remember one of our friends was like, I could be an Olympic swimmer. And I'm like, no, you couldn't. There's nothing in you that could have been an Olympic swimmer. But when you see things like that, I mean, the pressure that they are under to perform, whether they're cognizant of it or not, I mean, their body knows, because Shawn Mendes is dealing with anxiety. And that's one of the things that if you do not deal with it, it deals with you, right? Like, the only panic attack I've ever had in my life, I wasn't thinking about anything. My mind was pretty clear. I was working. And then all of a sudden, boom, my body freaks out and I have to deal with it.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those kinds of things where like these creators, especially like content creators who are trying to like keep the YouTube algorithm on their side, they feel like, and it may be true, that if they do take a break, then YouTube isn't pushing their stuff. Their numbers go down. So that means their money goes down, which means they can't pay the teams the same way they did.
Right.
So, most of these YouTubers don't edit their own videos these days anyway. So that means they might have to start doing that. And then that gives them anxiety. So it's like, it's this race. And here at the end of the day, it's like, is there a huge difference? Is there a huge difference between after you make $150,000 a year? Tell me, let's say $200,000. After you make $200,000 a year, everything else is just fine, right? Like, so if you can get yourself to a point to where you're making that kind of money anything over that, like I think they did some studies, and like anything over $80,000, you're not more happy with more money, right? There's a limit, because then it becomes more, okay, what am I doing with this money? What are the pressures of this stuff now?
Right.
Same thing, like everybody who's like, oh, I wish I was my own boss. It's like, no, you don't. You have to work twice as hard if you're your own boss, for a while at least. People I've got a buddy who started a cabinet business, and he was working at Lowe's before. This guy.
Yeah.
And like talking to him now, dude, that guy works at least 80 hours a week, every week. Like it's insane. Now he's doing way better. He's making good money. He's having success, but everyone always thinks everybody else has it easier than them, and that's just bull.
Right.
Like it has to be unbelievably hard to be Justin Bieber even. Right? Like there's no chance he's normal, but at the same time, like I get why, if I have a slip up, then like 30 people who follow me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever are going to make fun of me and like whatever. But if he messes up, the world comes after him. It's just a different level.
Right. Yeah, I can't imagine some of that stuff.
But like you were a YouTube, you were a content creator for a long time with Sight and Sound.
Well,
and you took like a year off after that?
Yeah, it's weird to use the word easy, but it was kind of easy to do that only because it was easy because it was apathy, because it was going into the pandemic, and, also had, some depressive tendencies and stuff going on.
Sure.
And so I didn't even really think about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if it had happened outside of that, I would have gotten angry at Jay for feeling that way. Like if Jay all of a sudden was just like, oh, I'm burnt out, I think I'm done, I would have gotten angry at that, and then it would have been way more on my mind, and I would have been anxious about it, how I'm ever going to do this, which of course I know how I'm going to do it, which is on my own, but it would have been a whole different thing that I went through. And here's the other thing I'm thinking about in terms of mental health, and I can see it on the other side of the schmoes know thing.
Yeah.
Because I know how long it took, how hard I worked, how much mental strain I dealt with for years just to make it to the top of working for a content company.
Right.
And the amount of energy, the amount of output that went into just climbing to that, which is small time still, small time compared to what Shawn Mendes had to deal with.
Sure.
So magnify everything that I went to by 100, and maybe you get there. And I just can't imagine the toll that kind of stuff takes.
Yeah.
I mean, and like it's easier, like I said, it's easy to come from that and have a different, mentality about it, because the company that I worked for was dissolved, so it doesn't even exist anymore. And so much time has gone by that the thing that replaced the company I work for also doesn't exist anymore. Like
it doesn't?
No. And I say all that because the Schmodown. That's what I'm talking about. The Schmodown's done. Did you not know that?
No.
Yeah, they pulled the plug on it, and like it was one of those things where they announced it, but like the final thing hadn't aired yet. So like I don't know if technically the final episode is aired or not, but they pulled the plug on the Schmodown, and I was like, that's the thing that, and I'm trying to like, have a sense of humor about it, I guess. Not that it's funny, it's not funny that a whole bunch of people,
right.
lost.
That's right.
That when but a sense of humor of like, because it's like given me a newfound reality to live in, where it's like, oh, the thing that like I was so upset over and mad at and hated and ruined my life, that doesn't even exist anymore. like
right.
And nobody and it's fine, like nobody remembers me, how hard I worked. I don't have nearly the same size audience as I used to, because that's why I wanted to work for that brand, because the brand recognition was already there. Um, yeah, it's just weird that that's the reality that I live in. And I say all that because it was the biggest thing to me in the world, but it was such on a small scale compared to the Shawn Mendes's and Ed Sheeran's and everything else that we're talking about. So there's no way that it's easy.
Right.
You make YouTube content, podcast content. How hard is it? Well, it's not as hard as making content as Ed Sheeran, but it's
Right. But at the same time, remember when you were in school and someone would have told you that you would, you know, one day, and this is back, I'm guessing, when you were really big into Schmodown and Schmoes Know, that one day you would have a podcast with them. You'd have been like, there's no way. That's so cool.
well, not even just telling me as a kid. If you had told me
Yeah.
if you had told me the year that I discovered them,
Right.
that I would have like met both of them and worked for them. I mean, no, there's no way I would believe it. But I mean, and I am proud because
Yeah.
in a weird way, it's like I know a lot of people probably wish that that could have happened to them. I mean, I remember watching live chats and being in the Facebook groups, and I was one of the people that would just be like, man, wouldn't it be great to work there? Are you hiring? And I would send in job applications, and
Yeah.
I'd be rejected because it would involve relocation, or nobody would even call me back, or it could be Screen Junkies and they lied altogether. They Screen Junkies had this thing, and I don't think this is public knowledge, but I know this. Screen Junkies had this thing where they were gonna like hire a fan that had the talent and ability, basically what I wanted for Schmoes Know, that I applied for, and it was a complete like lie. So when they announced the fans that they hired people that already worked there,
Yeah.
but off camera. And
Yeah, amazing.
They didn't tell anybody this. I know because of behind the scenes drama, and I just think that's so funny. I think my casting video is on the Film Beef YouTube channel. You can still see.
Oh, amazing.
You can still see my audition for Screen Junkies.
Yeah. Plus, that whole thing went down, and we started podcasting not because of that, but I think that was happening during the time that Jay and I, your old podcast buddy, that's how we got to talking. And then I remember that opportunity for you guys. And then one of those guys, I don't know if it was Hat Guy or whoever, said that I sounded like TJ Miller, and I've never forgiven him in my heart. Like, how dare they say that?
Yeah, you do kind of sound like TJ.
That's
Miller.
fair. That's fair. I sound like TJ Miller and look like Brian Posehn. Okay, God hates me.
There was a guy on Twitter that did an impression of TJ Miller talking to Kumail Nanjiani, and that he did both voices. And I closed my eyes, and it sounded like the guy was talking like you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't even know what the point of all that was, talking about the Schmoes Know thing. But I hadn't talked to you about it, but I have been kind of reflecting on it. Because so much of my anger for that has dissipated. And you know what's crazy about my anxiety is that one day it's just... there's always a day where it's just gone, and I can look back and study myself and my behaviors. And it's crazy to me that I was so angry about not having the Schmoes Know podcast feed anymore. Like, technically the Watch Diary podcast feed, guys, if you didn't know, is the Schmoes Know podcast feed. You can still find episodes of the Schmoes Know show on this podcast feed. They're just very far back.
Right.
And it doesn't have nearly the same size audience for multiple reasons, mainly because I drive it. But the fact that I never once considered that I wouldn't really be able to carry the Schmoes Know feed during the pandemic because movies didn't exist.
Yeah.
It took me so long to even think, I couldn't even be doing it because because movies didn't happen. And I guess there could have been a way, but it still would have lost the audience. It still would have not been the thing that it had been. I mean,
Right.
the fact that the Schmodown of all things came to an end, something that was earning tens of thousands of dollars, the thing that had the backing of Robert Kirkman's production company, everything, even that couldn't survive the pandemic. So it's like, granted, that also employed way too many people for no reason, but it was just gonna be me and two other people. But at the same time, it's like this kind of stuff is so fleeting, and I've just like learned so much from it.
Yeah.
But
I'm happier. I'm happy exactly where I am. And if I never get any notoriety whatsoever, that's fine. Like, I think some of that comes with aging, and then some of it comes with, like, you know, your priorities change when you have a family.
Of course.
But yeah, like, there's part of me that wishes that, you know, the Revival Sound wouldn't have broke up or whatever, or like, you know, I could have had a few more opportunities. But dude, like, I am so good that now I do what I want to do.
Right.
And that's a gift. Like, I can go into, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I can go into a Walgreens and no one knows who I am. Incredible.
Right.
Given my vast talent and body, my massive body of work, that's also my human body.
All right, I have one more thing to tell you before we talk about this movie.
Okay.
This right here. Okay? You saw me drinking out of a mason jar and not a Starbucks cup, so you said, "Oh, that's not cold brew." I told you it was. This is not. Are you prepared to find out what this drink actually is?
I know what it is.
What is it?
Is that mud water?
No.
I don't know. It's just the latest trend, and I know you like those. What is it? Coke Zero.
Mushroom coffee.
Stop it. Is it good?
Yeah, it tastes just like coffee. Yeah, obviously made this into a cold brew, so it was brewed the exact same. It does have coffee in it, and it is less caffeinated. And turns out you can make mushrooms taste like coffee. So it's a blend of mushrooms, hybrid with coffee, less caffeine, easier on your stomach. You know, it's got the antioxidant benefits, all that good stuff. So I'm trying to wean off caffeine a little bit. So I started with, normally a Trenta is what, a 30 ounce, and this mason jar, there's no way it's 16 ounces. So it's going to be less than that. So I've already had less than half of the caffeine that I normally have at this time. So
do you feel accomplished?
I'm trying to find little random ways to improve myself. I don't know if
I like that.
I don't, and you know, it was 2022 is a big year for me. Yesterday I wore a shirt that had like not polka dots, but it had a dotted design on it. Here, I'm going to show you the shirt that I wore yesterday, and you're going to be like, I've never seen you wear anything like that.
Okay. This is amazing podcast. Oh God, does it have a collar?
It is a, yeah, it's a normal t-shirt, but
it's a t-shirt.
Have you ever seen me wear anything like this? And guys, and think about what I'm showing you. It's just a white shirt with dots. That's it. Nothing flashy.
Yeah, it's a hospital gown.
But I've
got that hospital pattern.
And also, I've been wearing a lot of clouded dye shirts.
Stop.
Yeah, like not tie-dye, but you know,
okay.
Not tie-dye. But anyway, so
dressing like Dude Love now.
I think the biggest change too, and I got excited, and this is, I think everybody can learn from this. You ready? So I have to lug all of my dirty laundry to a laundromat, and it's like something that I like to do, but I'm a little impatient with it. Like, I want to go to the laundromat and be done with it and then get on with my day. So depending on, I go to the laundromat on days that I'm either off work or I work late, so I have a lot of time to do it in the morning. And sometimes if I have like a 6-day or 7-day stretch of work, sometimes it's more than a week's worth of laundry that I have to lug to a laundromat, which like still relatively isn't the biggest deal, but the fact that I have to like drive it over and bring it back and forth and and I buy the biggest thing of detergent and the biggest thing of fabric softener, obviously for the value. But I would have to lug all that too, not to mention I hang my shirts, the clothes hangers, the dryer sheets. Like I had like a whole like kit and caboodle that I was traveling with on laundry day. And then finally I just decided there has to be a better way. And I found out, first of all, that I've been using way too much fabric softener. Way too much. I was doing it because I wanted my clothes to feel like butter, but I don't know if you know this or not, but fabric softener is like, it protects your clothes because it's like a wax. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. So basically I made my shirts like extremely flammable and put them in the dryer. And then I noticed that things would stick to them easier. So like if you use a lot of fabric softener, it makes your clothes more attracted to dust and things. So anyway,
You don't use the sheets?
I changed my entire routine. No, I use like fabric conditioner in the wash, and then I use the sheets in the dryer. But
okay, you do.
But anyway, I'm not kidding. I use so much, like a lot, of fabric softener because I just thought, why not? But it was way too much. I can't even express how much. It was at least more than double. At least more than double the detergent.
For 3 months, I did laundry.
Oh, go ahead.
And I washed all of our clothes with only fabric softener because my wife had we'd never bought the liquid fabric softener before. So our clothes smelled good.
Yes.
But they weren't clean. 3 months.
It's incredible.
Right.
So anyway, I looked up exactly how much fabric softener I would need for an average size laundry load. And I bought condiment bottles like that you could use in your kitchen that were the exact same amount. So what I do is I fill up the little bottle, and it's literally like this big. I fill up the little bottle. I switch from laundry detergent liquid to the new like eco-friendly wash sheets that dissolve in the washer, and it's like literally like a sheet of paper. And I went from 2 of those jugs to those 2 little things, and I carried it to the laundry, Matt, and it was like I was dreaming. I was so happy. And I was like, what other things in my life could I change right now? Okay, let's get rid of caffeine. Let's try to level set my hormones and my brain chemistry. Mushroom coffee, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. You're like a new man.
Yeah, I feel good. And I'm also on the other side of my very first Tollywood film. RRR. There wasn't a big theatrical release, though, guys, I am going to see Vengeance with BJ Novak tonight, and that will be a part of this podcast, but after we get done talking, and it'll just be me. But
yeah,
I wanted to watch this movie because I've been hearing a lot about it. And whenever a foreign film just comes out of nowhere, I jump at the chance to check it out because the track record, like if there's a foreign film, I think Squid Games are like this too. But if a foreign film and enough people are screaming about it that it makes its way over here, it's almost like life-changing. Parasites like that. There's also another movie called Shadow that I watched a couple of years ago. That was incredible. I think I have it on my Vudu. The first time that it was wrong, but the first time that I kind of got a whiff of it was when I saw Snowpiercer, because it was, if I remember correctly, it was produced in Korea, but it still had the backing of the Weinstein Company and Chris Evans. So like there was already Americanized aspects to it. Yeah. But it did introduce me to Bong Joon-ho, and that's where we are with Parasite and all, yeah. So the fact that RRR, people were just screaming and shouting about it, I was like, I cannot wait to watch this movie. And I don't know, did you have any sort of idea of what it was before me recommending it to you?
So I watch this this YouTube channel called the VFX Guys or something like that.
The corridor.
Yeah,
Crew.
Corridor Crew.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they covered this movie, but they did cover like the movies that are coming out of India that are action related, and they just looked insane and fun. And so I was interested to watch them. But no, the first I had ever heard of a movie called RRR, which it's a dumb name.
It's a bad
It's a dumb name for a movie.
It's a bad title.
I looked it up and watched the trailer, and then I don't like to watch trailers because I think that they ruin movies sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think it's best to go in blind if you trust your friends. And so when you told me to watch it, I watched like the first half of the trailer, and I was like, oh, God, what is this? Let's go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the first time I ever heard of it.
I didn't watch a trailer for it either. The first thing that I did, the first look I really got was looking up images for the thumbnails to make for this podcast. And they were all wild, all wildly different. Like, a lot of graphics have been made about this movie, and there were like, I saw that the title actually means Rise, Roar, Revolt.
Yeah, something like that.
Which would have been a better title. But I saw the water and fire iconography. I saw all, the characters just in crazy situations. I saw so much stuff, and already I was like, I haven't even seen a video of this yet, and it's already kind of blowing my mind here how wild this is. And yeah, it was a great experience from the jump. And I watched it. My viewing of it was split exactly an hour and a half last night and exactly an hour and a half tonight, which is weird because the movie's actually, in a way, designed like that.
Sure.
It concludes with the animal fight in the palace, and it's right at the hour and a half mark, and it cuts to black, and it's almost like all of this is done in chapters. So it was actually like, all this talk about, is this TV show too long? Could this TV show have been a movie? The DNA of this movie works in its favor because it is a 3-hour film. So what was your viewing of it? You definitely didn't watch it in one sitting, did you?
I absolutely did.
No way.
I did. I had some time off. I took Monday off work and just stayed at home and like relaxed. I needed a mental health day.
Yeah.
And so I just watched it. I turned it on, and the first thing that I'm watching is like, it's the longest intro of a movie of all time, to where there's a lot of stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
They're like, no wolves, elks, bears, deer, rabbits, all animals. No, none of them were really hurt. They're all CG.
Right.
And all they would have to have done to know that is watch the movie. Like, if you think that is a real deer or bear or tiger or whatever, like, your house stinks.
I definitely made fun of that too, and I was laughing. I was like, I can't wait to bring this up. But then as I thought about it more, I was just like, this is my first Bollywood or Tollywood movie. I'm sure every one of their movies has this, and every American movie does too, but it's just at the end credits.
Yeah, and then the first scene of the movie. Well, I guess I should just say overall, my God, what a beloved, amazing time I had with this movie.
Yeah,
I watched it in one sitting because I was enjoying myself so much. And like, the thing is like, you have to go into this movie, like within the first 10 minutes, you have to be like, oh, that's what this is. Right? Like, don't go into this thinking like it's a Christopher Nolan movie, or like, it is very, me and my wife were talking about it. She watched some of it with me. This movie is an anime. I mean, it's the closest to an anime that I've ever seen. And in anime, there's all these cheesy cliches, and they're all throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Like even the song, are they going to be friends, or are they going to, I don't know if you had the subtitles on for
100%. That was
Okay.
the funniest part about it, is how
Yeah.
like literal and matter
How
of
will this develop? You know,
he he comes from this tribe where they grew up doing this, and it's so like matter of fact and literal and sing alongy. Yeah, I was laughing my ass off. I loved it.
it reminds me a lot. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Kung Fu Hustle.
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it.
So it's kind of Looney Tunes ish, but I don't think that it's like. I don't think most people who would watch this movie would critique it too hard because it's a stunning movie. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
Are the animals lifelike? No. But the things that they're doing, if they were really doing that with live animals, they would be dead, ripped apart, torn to shreds. But like, visually, this movie is awesome. And in the first 10 minutes, I have the most white guilt. Like, I'm just like, white people, why? It's like, take that little girl. Why? Because I want her. I want her to sit on the mantelpiece. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, this whole movie is a treat for the eyes. It's so much fun that you forgive those moments where you're like, everyone sees this coming. This isn't because they tease something early on in the movie when these two guys meet. And then the lyrics of the song, like backing it up, is like, will this end in bloodshed?
Right.
And then when the turn, the M. Night Shyamalan moment happens, they still play it like no one could have seen this coming. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, no, you literally told us. And like, but man, what a treat. What a treat. RRR, which I would love to hear William Butcher say the name of this movie. But what a treat it was.
So I was thinking a lot about how much fun I was having too, because it doesn't happen often, and it was during the dance sequence.
Oh God, yeah.
Which was so much fun to watch. And I was thinking about what that sequence meant to me, because it's so tonally different than so much, but it's almost like RRR is one tone while also being 6 tones that are the same tone. It's weird. And I think it's because it's never self-serious. And that's what American cinema does. I feel like I could compare this to Fast and the Furious, where it's like their action sequences are inspired and out of this world in the way that this one is. But between all that, the drama is so thin. Whereas RRR, it has so much drama and so much it's so compelling all the time, which is not the case for Fast and Furious, but it's so self-serious, and there's no character work being done in those movies. Whereas there was constantly new story, new relationships, new twists, and it's just an epic tale at the end of the day too. I assumed it would be epic, but not in like a Shakespearean, not in a Shakespearean way. Yeah, I expected it to be more in game, but it has more in common with like Gladiator in some ways.
The biggest moment of the most dramatic moment of the film, like the biggest like tearjerker, the Braveheart moment, the Passion of the Christ moment. The dude breaks out in song, and I didn't even think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, he starts singing while he's being whipped with this whip of nails.
Yeah.
And he just starts singing, and I believe him. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, because it's like that Looney Tunes aspect of how just fantastical everything is, makes you not take everything so, like, it's already from the outset of the movie, this is not set in a real world thing. So you kind of just are led, and you let yourself believe whatever is you're being told, you know?
Right. And I think the other thing too is that you can see how much fun the actors are having at times. Like again, that dance sequence when they're just all smiles and it just makes you happy. while the main character that plays Raju, he starts out being this super badass, and of course, right away, the guy has taken 200 hits to the body with a metal club.
Oh yeah,
and he's still. I'm like, oh, this is so sick. So he looks menacing and like a badass, but he's so 3-dimensional. Every character is 3-dimensional too. So they give you these badass characters that also have a lot going on. And so when you see that same person at a wedding, I can't remember what the ceremony was that they're dancing at, and they're just so filled with joy. And then also the shots of them, like if you go on Letterboxd right now, the movie poster for RRR is Beam and Raju sitting behind one another on their motorcycle, driving through the streets with big smiles on their faces. Like it looks like no action is in this movie whatsoever. It's a gay romance between these two characters.
Heck yeah.
And
let's go.
And the fact that just there's all that going on, it's crazy, because if this had American influence, I feel like we would be shitting all over this.
Yeah, I think too, like one of the things that kept coming to mind was one of the two stars in this movie is some serious eye candy.
Raju, yeah, he is so
seriously handsome. And then it just made me feel bad for the other guy because, like, he's not ugly.
Oh, man.
But if I were casting this movie, I'm not Raju. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a Beam, and Beam is still 10 times more attractive than I am.
Right.
It was just one of those things, like, I remember thinking, like, if these are the two leads, I'm like rooting for the bad guy here because he's handsome.
Yeah.
You know, I want the handsome guy to win.
I looked up his bio, and he is one of the highest paid actors in India.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you know that this movie is based on two actual people? This is based on true stories. The character Raju and the character Beam are real people. And they really did all that. This is based on true events.
Fuck yeah.
And it's all about, like, both of them are like Indian revolutionaries who fought against Britain.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically where it ends, like their stories.
You mean the flaming motorcycle that lands in the room of TNT? Was it a real thing that happened?
No, that part's real. That part's actually from the documentary that they were shooting in the 1800s. But
that's right.
I just found that so funny because, like, after this movie was over, did you stay during the credits?
No.
Okay, you missed so much.
I had to get on and podcast with you.
So at the end of the movie, credits roll, but they come back in for a dance sequence.
Nice.
And it's them just in this, like, studio space, and they both have, like, went to studios and recorded their vocals, and it's all of them and the white girl, Jenny.
Wait, and this is the end of the movie. It's not during the credits. The end of the movie is the dance sequence.
Yeah, but like the credits start rolling, and then that sequence starts.
Here, let me make sure. Keep talking, but I'm going to make sure.
Okay. So you saw the moment where at the end of the movie, they're like themselves, not the characters anymore, and they're dancing. And they're like in a movie studio, like set up for a dance. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay. So just incredible that happened in the movie. I don't know if Bend It Like Beckham is a Bollywood movie, but it reminded me of that. It reminded me of Slumdog Millionaire a little bit, because I think they do that in that movie. But my God, what a great job both of the characters did. I would love to know culturally, like, how the movie was received in South India, I guess.
Well, I mean, it has to be just incredible. First of all, I'm sure it's exactly in the spirit of what's popular over there. But at the same time, again, if it reached here, it has to be.
Well, there's all kinds of foreign movies that have reached here that are terrible.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, based on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in time, but I would love to know that as well.
But like I thought that the story was familiar enough that I think that Western audiences are immediately going to like relate in some ways. There's a lot of like cultural differences in like how Indian people like shake their head yes. It's a side to side thing rather than a like up and down thing. Did you pick up on that?
No.
Okay. And then there's like language barriers in the movie. There's like these two guys, Raju and Beam, when they meet, just to set the story, you want to see this movie because of this, one of the first scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
They're on a bridge, and there's a boy who is in the river below, and the river has caught on fire because a train derailed. And so there's flames everywhere. Think that oh God, what is that movie? Just think you're in The Lion King at the end of the movie when there's flames all around, and then these two guys. The way they save this kid is they say, "What's the easiest thing we can do?" And so they pick up a rope. One's on a horse, one's on a motorcycle, and they jump off. They drive to the middle of the bridge to meet each other. And they both jump off either side. One of them picks up a kid. One has a flag dipped in water to protect himself. And they save this kid by swinging under this bridge, saving this child.
I'm listening to you, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, your description doesn't even, like, do it justice.
No.
Like, there's no way to explain it.
There's no way. Yeah.
But it's incredible.
The most intense action sequence in any Mission Impossible movie, and that's this. That's how big the stakes are during this.
Right.
And then afterwards, they're best friends, and you get to see them like give each other piggyback rides. It goes from not knowing each other, saving this kid on this motorcycle horse bridge jump, and then piggyback rides. I mean, that's basically our friendship, Ryan.
I literally was thinking that. This reminds me of me and Brando running through
when you would give me piggyback rides.
And I'll tell you what, I want to talk about the friendship that these two have for a minute, because and again, I think culturally this is different too, because I'm thinking no two men in America have ever met and felt this way about each other in their lifetime. Like,
I disagree.
What making friends as an adult is such a weirdo concept
because you don't save kids.
But it's so but it's such a weird concept alone, but the fact that like two men enjoyed each other that much, and don't you remember those scenes where they'd like be in the room with all of the books on the floor, and one of them would be on the floor reading, and they'd like look at each other and just smile? It's like,
okay, I've never had that friendship.
Exactly.
You're right.
That's just something else, but I love that so much.
Oh yeah.
This movie made me happy all the time. Even when it was super dramatic, they always found a way to just make me happy. I mean, that doesn't happen often. Sometimes watching movies, and I love watching things that make me feel miserable too.
That's right.
I don't often just watch things that just make me happy, and this did for 3 hours.
And I think like when you think about the way that you and I watch movies, now we watch movies differently, but like when I go into something, I'm never like, oh, this is going to be so great. Most of the time I'm like, okay, you better live up to this.
Right.
Like everyone told me The Dark Knight was good. You better be good. That's the kind of like attitude I go into anything with. A new band. Anything in my life has to impress me because my ego is through the roof. Now, for guys like us that crap on overly dramatic, syrupy movies, this movie is just a gem. And we're not its target audience. There's no way that this company or director ever thought about a fat diabetic 35-year-old in Kentucky who used to be something and play at YMCA's would enjoy this movie so much. And oh my God, it was a treat. It was, this is a movie I think I could show my kids. I'm trying to think if there was anything in the movie.
I think
there's some blood.
I think the whipping would be tough.
Well, I mean, my kids have watched The Passion of the Christ every year since they've been born, so that's a joke. I would never show my children that movie. I wish I had not seen it. But yeah, other than that scene, I guess you're right. I wouldn't want them to see a man whip another man.
Well, how do you feel about just men shooting other men in the head?
That's fine. I mean, that's America, baby.
That's right. I was thinking about how much I would rip a movie for this one thing that this movie gets away with 100%. If I saw a movie in theaters that had a musical number, first of all, that's already like,
amen.
I'm already halfway out.
Yeah, I hate musicals.
But this is the deadly sin. If I'm watching an American movie with a musical number, it's going to go downhill fast. But if the actors' mouths are out of sync almost entirely from the music, I would give it nothing on Letterboxd. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I would have said there's absolutely no excuse. Now, the fact that there are multiple dance numbers where the music is out of sync with the mouths of the actors, and the fact that I didn't think anything of it is pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because this is a movie where I didn't know it was a musical. I figured there might be musical numbers because I thought it was a Bollywood movie, and that's something that happens in Bollywood films. But I thought, this reminds me of, when we talked about The Boys, and there's that episode and that scene where the female and I've already forgotten their names. The French.
Are you talking about Frenchie and Kimiko?
Kimiko, yeah. When they do that dance number, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm so glad they did this. This reminds me of like how I felt during the Assassin episode of
Leftovers.
Like, it's just so out of left field, but still so... I just bought it because the way it was handled was just perfect.
Yeah.
And that's how this was handled in this movie. Like, as men, as grown men, we're not allowed to really ever be happy unless we're watching sports. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just the truth. Like, you're never going to go up to a random guy and be like, hey, remember that dance number from RRR? Wasn't that sick? The way you could go up and be like, oh, the Wildcats won again. So
wasn't that sick?
Wasn't that sick? Men, it's okay to be happy. If you want to be in the same room, not talking, reading books, and give each other flirty glances, that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect your manhood. And honestly, like, when you hear about other cultures, like, it's perfectly acceptable in India and at least the Middle East that I know of for men to walk, like, hold hands walking down the street if they're friends.
That's incredible.
But if you and I even touch hands, we have to do, like, moral inventories. Like, more you because I'm so attractive. Like,
right.
You're like, am I gay? Am I attracted to men?
That's right.
But it's just one of those things where you don't even think about it. So our culture, toxic masculinity exists, and it is ruining this country because we can't have nice things like RRR in America.
That's so true. Is there anything else? Oh, by the way, like the CGI, the animals. Like, again, at first I thought the wolf during the jungle chase. I did too. Yeah. I thought the wolf looked great.
Every other animal, though.
And then the tiger, I was like, oh, that's weird that one animal in this same scene looks really good and the other doesn't. And then I just let go. Once I saw the rest of it, I was like, I think the wolf was an anomaly. And then
That's right.
I just forgot all about it and just enjoyed watching tigers rip some British
Well,
soldiers' arms off.
My only question was in the scene where Beam attacks the palace and he lets all those animals out, like wolf, I get it. Tiger, I'm with you.
Are you going to talk about the
bear,
fact that there was a buck?
There's a deer. There were, like, when you think of like ravaging animals, a deer comes out and they use it because one guy's arm gets caught on the deer's antlers.
I know.
And he gets run away.
First of all, I laughed because the idea that a deer and a tiger together taking down the British Empire is amazing. But also the fact that, or I was thinking, but I would be terrified if that was running after me. Terrified.
Absolutely.
So there's that. Second of all, if you noticed, before they do the guy's arm and the antler thing, there's another shot of the deer where the camera follows it and you think something wild's about to happen. And then the deer runs off screen, and then the tiger comes in and does the thing. So it's like they knew themselves that we can only do this one thing with the deer.
Like there had to be someone in the editing room who's like, "Come on, guys, put a deer in there. I love deers." And they're like, "Shut the deer guy up."
The one deer advocate.
We don't need deers in this movie. And he's like, "Please."
Yeah.
My dad owns the company, and he's not going to give you the money unless you throw Bambi in there. And so Bambi made it.
Yeah.
Great scene, though. Incredibly wild, fantasy, fantastical. 2 thumbs way up.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
It's not often that I have an experience like this, and you know, I do think that like rewatchability might be limited with this movie. Like I don't know when I'm gonna rewatch it again, but I'm gonna be recommending the shit out of it.
Yeah,
like
it's
in a
hours.
Way, yeah. But recommending it because, nothing I've seen this year I would recommend more. I don't know, maybe Top Gun Maverick is the only other one. And that's only because I have to work harder because so many people are reacting the way that you just did.
That's right. Yeah, great movie. I'm going to try and get my wife to watch it, but when I'm not here.
We only have a couple more minutes left because Zoom is limiting our meetings now. I didn't realize that. So with 2 minutes left, what does your top 10 of the year look like? Because I've done my mid-year reports. Maybe you haven't even watched top 10 or 10 movies of 2022. But what are you thinking about when you think of movies in 2022?
Dude, I don't even have like anything to say about 20. I don't even know what come out this year. You know, I'm a horror movie fan, and I have not seen a great horror movie this year yet. We watched a movie last night that was pretty good. It was oh god, I don't even know what it was called. It stars the ugly girl. Well, she's not ugly. Look at me.
Whoa.
I don't get to say anyone's ugly.
Whoa.
But the girl I don't understand has a Dakota whatever
Dakota
from
Johnson?
50 Shades. Yeah.
She's not ugly.
No, she's attractive, but she's like, I know her in real life attractive.
Right. Okay.
She just happens to be someone, Merv Griffin's daughter or something. But anyway,
she's
we
Don
watched
Johnson's
the movie.
daughter.
Whatever. No, Merv Griffin that's her mom though. Melanie Griffith.
No.
It's someone like that. Anyway, we watched a movie called Persuasion that was really good, and it's based on a Agatha Christie movie.
Yeah.
The coloring is great. The story is good. Watch it.
Oh, it is Melanie Griffith. I fucked that up. My bad.
Yeah, I know you did.
I was thinking of somebody else. I was thinking of
she's not ugly.
Kate Hudson's mom. Anyway,
she's not ugly.
What is Persuasion on?
We watched it on
Netflix. Okay.
Netflix, yeah.
Okay, perfect. It has a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. How about that?
Yeah, how about that?
All right, Brando, I'm going to let you go. Where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Brando Big Mouth.
All right. Dude, I have to kick you off. I'll see you later. It's literally less than 1 minute on the Zoom call.
Okay, love you.
That's it for us.
Say you love me back.
I love you too. All right, everybody. We're going to finish out the show today with a review of Vengeance, written and directed by BJ Novak. I just got out of the theater, so my reaction is fresh. By the way, follow me on TikTok at RewatchRyan. That's where I put all of my quick and easy, digestible reactions there on the channel, or there on my profile, whatever you want to say. Just go to TikTok at Rewatch Ryan, and of course follow me on Letterboxd at Rewatch Ryan as well, because you can see everything that I log, not just Vengeance and not just RRR. But anyway, my reaction to Vengeance. I was interested by the trailer, for sure. It's about a podcaster. I love my movies about podcasters. Not really. How many of those are there anyway? Halloween, Tusk, two movies I don't like. Vengeance is another movie that I don't like about a podcaster. So another reason, another way into this movie is I think I was compelled by BJ Novak exploring a divided America and what brings the heartland of America, what brings the red states together with the blue states. And initially, I was in. As the movie opens and we learn more about his character, he's from New York, he's a writer for, I believe, The New Yorker, and he's exploring with his boss what the story is behind this potential podcast that he's, I guess I should go all the way back with the plot. He gets a call from the brother of one of his hookups saying that she passed away, and all of this is in the trailer, and he thinks it's going to be an interesting opportunity to document something for a podcast. So as he's talking to his boss and trying to figure out what the way in is, it does get compelling, because you're kind of juggling how you feel about him doing this. You're juggling how you feel about him as a character, but it's also like such a Hollywood story too. It sounded like two studio heads or two writers trying to break a story, and I do like that kind of stuff. I do appreciate that. But I just think that BJ Novak was kind of getting in over his head. And it kind of, in a weird way, felt like, I don't know, the way that a lot of people think when Hollywood oversteps its bounds and like talks about things that they don't really know how to talk about or know how to discuss. I appreciate BJ Novak throwing stuff out in the air, and maybe that is enough to get people talking and thinking about a lot of the things that he wants us to think and talk about. Sure. I mean, I was definitely compelled by a lot of the monologues. It's definitely overly written, for sure. They do pose certain questions, but the movie never lives up to anything it promises. It never lives up to finding any of these ideas and these resolutions. It never lives up to really believably changing its characters. You know, a lot of the characters, for the most part, you don't get enough of. Ashton Kutcher and BJ Novak in particular play unlikable characters that you can't just really get behind. I think you're always waiting for something. You're always waiting for the movie to kick in, and it never quite does fully. You know, the opening scene is a banter between him and John Mayer. And they're kind of talking about dating, they're talking about social media, and it kind of reminded me of what Master of None does really well. A lot of snappy dialogue that I can't tell, and I still can't tell if they were trying to make us laugh or what. At the beginning, the opening of it, I kind of thought that it was going to be a comedy, and it never made me laugh. There are some parts that are definitely trying to be a comedy, but it never really gets there either. It's not a great comedy. It's not a great murder mystery either. It never really dives into what actually happened. It's really just about him finding the story, and it kind of just picked the lane that was least compelling, honestly. If they had implemented the murder mystery in a little bit more, if they had really reached for the comedy more, then I think if it was just more of what it said it was going to be, it would have worked. The most likable part of it was the victim's family, the Southern family. They're featured in the trailer, and that's supposed to be that's supposed to be the fish out of water aspect, I guess, of BJ Novak's New Yorker writer, going to the heart of Texas and learning. It doesn't really explore any of that either, and there's not enough of those likable characters to get you on board. So much is just left on the table and thrown out, and ultimately, at the end of the day, I just didn't think it was a particularly great movie, honestly. And it never lives up to what it promises, ever. I guess we can say that we saw BJ Novak and Ashton Kutcher in a thing together since Punk'd, but that's all we got, really. And unfortunately, shout out to Whataburger. They go to Whataburger multiple times, and I love Whataburger for sure. You know, I live in Arizona, so a Whataburger is literally always nearby. Not gonna lie, there's one right around the block from where I am right now. But I wouldn't even like recommend you watching it to see if you get something out of it, because I just don't think it's there. And I think it's definitely just a case of him trying to be profound. And I'm not going to hate him for it or anything. I'm not going to like roast him or shit on him for it any more than, you know, I feel like just saying it's just not something I find worthy of anyone's time. I think that's enough. And it was just a big old miss for me, unfortunately. And it's not like it was the most hated thing, or, you know, I didn't think it was like poorly filmed or anything like that. I just think it's an empty promise on all fronts, and that's it. I'm gonna forget all about it, unfortunately. So there's that. My review of Vengeance. With that said, that's the end of this podcast. I had a ton of fun talking to Brando. Sorry his camera wasn't working, but it's all good. Brando always has something going on with his equipment every week. He forgets a mic. He forgets a cord. You know, it's always something. He has to wear his kid's gaming headset. It's always something. And so in true Brando fashion, I don't have the ending of that sentence. Guys, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, just find Rewatch Ryan. I appreciate you. I love you, whether you're watching this on the YouTube channel, whether you're listening to this on the podcast feed, wherever you get podcasts. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. And I'll see you on the next one. We're going to be talking about Bullet Train. I have an early access screening, so I might have a review come out early. We're also going to be talking about Prey. And I think Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I think I'm going to get to see all of it in time, if I remember correctly. Let me check the dates real quick while I'm thinking about it. I should have done it before, but it's all good. On the calendar, we have time for, Bullet Train, Bodies, 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 and then Prey comes out on Friday on Hulu. So yeah, all that stuff will be there. I think I'm going to miss the Signs 20th anniversary. I don't know, maybe, we'll see. But yeah, good stuff coming. I appreciate you. I love you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.